Welcome back in NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, and it's a Monday morning, which means we're breaking down the current NFL playoff picture, the NFC version in particular this week, as we enter Week 14 with just the Monday Night Football game between two AFC teams left to go. This is where, with all the NFC games now played, things currently sit. The Lions are the number one seed at 11-1. The Eagles, a game back at 10-2. Then there's a bit of a fall off for the other division leaders. Seattle's at 7-5. Atlanta at 6-6 has the lead, only through tiebreakers. The Vikings, Packers, and Commanders have game and a half, we'll call it at minimum, leads over the Bucs, Cardinals, Rams. 5-7 teams, 4-8 teams. Everyone but the Giants is still technically alive, although Carolina is about to be limited this upcoming week. Briefly, by the way, this is how the AFC playoff picture looks. The Chiefs and Bills, by the way, have clinched playoff spots, which is certainly worth mentioning. That'll be fully reflected and detailed for you guys on tomorrow's show. And if you want that AFC playoff picture breakdown, like the video. We'll come in early Tuesday morning, knock that out for you guys as well. If it is something you want, do me a favor, like today's show right now. Let's get to the NFC. We'll go team by team here. We'll look at the most of the top teams. We'll make the cutoff 5% chance or higher at making the postseason, which will leave one team out of it, by the way, that is tied with a different record. Let's go to the Lions. 11-1. They are now in position to potentially clinch a playoff spot thanks to a wild and wacky win over the Chicago Bears that helped got Matt Eberflus fired. They play the Packers in a great game on Thursday Night Football. Now, the Detroit Lions clinch a playoff spot with that win over Green Bay. There are also not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, 16 other variations involving losses from other teams that would clinch a playoff spot as well for the Lions. I don't want to sit here for 25 minutes going over 16 different outcomes that involve anywhere from 3 to 6 losses from other teams, so we'll just skip that part. Lions win with the win over Green Bay or a bunch of other weird stuff going on, but we know they're going to be a playoff team. The question for Detroit is, do they get that number one seed? The Eagles are charging in from behind, trying to make a run at that spot. A impressive, even maybe better than the score indicates, win over the Ravens. They've got Carolina, Pittsburgh, a team I think they can absolutely beat. The Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. This is an Eagles team that has gotten really hot as of late. The defense is firing on all cylinders. The offense looks good. They're going to be a playoff team. They can clinch it this week. 4 different scenarios. We'll go through 4 of them. All of them require 2 things. A win over Carolina, and the Cardinals to lose to Seattle. Which is possible. Scenario number 1, Packers lose to the Lions. Falcons lose to Minnesota. Very possible. Scenario number 2, first 3 things stay the same, except this time the Bucs lose to the Raiders. Maybe not as likely. Scenario number 3, again, Eagles win, Cardinals lose. Falcons lose, Rams lose to the Bills. Also extremely possible there. And then the 4th one, we'll keep the Rams lose there, and the Bucs lose to the Las Vegas Raiders. So it's very possible Philadelphia locks up a playoff spot this week. Do you think that happens? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Do you think the Eagles clinch a playoff spot this week? Let's move to the Seattle Seahawks, as they got a kind of ugly, but a win is a win over the Jets, and now they have a massive game coming up against the Arizona Cardinals. They have already beaten Arizona once. That is a road game. Seattle wins that one. They improve to 8-5. They at minimum maintain a 1-game lead over the Rams, have a tiebreaker scenario over the Cardinals locked in. Then they get to their tough part of the schedule. Packers, Vikings. For realistically being a playoff team, I think Seattle has to win this game against Arizona, and it gives them some wiggle room against the Packers and the Vikings in the next 2 weeks. The Falcons behind, it was not a good game from the offense. That was actually pretty bad. They drop a game against the Chargers, 17-13. Now, they have the tiebreaker right now over Tampa. Emphasis on the right now, because they're going to go play the Vikings in Week 14 on the road against the hot Minnesota team. That might not be a win. Then the schedule does get easier. Then they have the Raiders, the Giants, the Commanders, and Panthers. The loss against the Chargers does hurt. If you lose to Minnesota, Now you're staring down, can we do better than 10-7? Does 10-7 should get you in. Might not be enough to win the division, potentially. We'll see how things play out with the Tampa Bay Bucs. We'll get to that here in just a second. But today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to favorite teams play live even easier. If you're looking for a gift this holiday and your significant other or friend or family member isn't easy to shop for, tickets to a sports game, a comedy show, theaters, whatever else in between is certainly a good one. And you can know you're getting the best deal because of Game Time. The Game Time guarantee is this. They will credit you 110% of the difference of your ticket cost if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download Game Time today. Link and the promo code, ChatSports, GameTime.co, will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Go download Game Time today. Time is it. Game Time. Let's look at the wild card, where you've got, I think, two obvious teams, a third team, and then a bit of a fall off after that. That NFC North is just incredibly good right now. Minnesota is 10-2. They're coming off I still can't believe they won that game against Arizona. That was kind of a shocking win, that way that team was playing for a good portion of it. Then they get the Falcons, but then kind of a tough schedule. Bears, maybe not very good. Seattle's a fringe playoff team, or a current playoff team even. Green Bay, Detroit to wrap up the season. Win over Atlanta, and the Vikings have a chance to clinch a playoff spot already. That's right. Even though they're the 5 seed and the Eagles are the 2 seed, Vikings scenario is much easier. They need a win over the Falcons, a Cardinals loss to Seattle, and the Rams to lose to the Bears. Sometimes tiebreaker scenarios can get a little bit weird. That is all Minnesota needs to lock up a playoff spot this upcoming week. Green Bay took care of business against the Miami Dolphins, 30-17. Now they get Week 14 at the Detroit Lions on Thursday. Got a couple good Thursday night games this year. This is certainly another one. Their schedule, not terribly daunting down the stretch here. Lions is obviously a tough one. Seattle's a very solid competitive team. The Saints, maybe the Darren Rizzi effect has wore off here a little bit. Then Minnesota, that game might not be for the division, but that Week 17 match between Green Bay and Minnesota very much could be for who gets the 5 seed, who gets the 6 seed in the NFC this year, which certainly does matter, of course. Do you believe the NFC North is the best division in football? 1 for yes, 2 for no. It's somebody else. Let me know in the comments of today's show. I thought the Commanders' get-right game was going to come against the Cowboys in Week 12. It did not. It did come against the Titans in Week 13, though. 42-19. The Commanders just blow out Tennessee. They now get their bye. So they're going to sit at 8-5, regardless of what Tampa and Arizona do and the Rams and whatever. They're going to have at least a 1-game lead still in the NFC playoff picture, no matter what. Now, their games left. Saints, they should win that game. The Eagles, that game is probably not going to be a win. Probably going to be Eagles clinch the NFC East. At least potentially that's a path that we're barreling down there. Falcons, which, oh boy, that game suddenly has a lot more intrigue and mattering there. And then the Dallas Cowboys. The likely outcome here is that 10 wins gets you in. Should get number 9 against the Saints. When do you pick up number 10? And do you have it or is there a got to win Week 18 against the Cowboys team that may or may not still be in it at that point? The Commanders are going to have the wild card lead by at least a game heading into next week. Over who is a bit of a question mark. Tampa Bay, in part because of a crazy comeback win over the Carolina Panthers, are 6-6. And despite being, by the way, the number 8 seed, they still have actually a better playoff probability than the Falcons. The reason being, their schedule is super easy. Raiders, Chargers, Cowboys, Panthers, Saints. They should be favored in 4 of those games. Like we've said, 10 wins normally gets you into the postseason, especially with the expanded playoff and extra game. 10 wins, That's the 7 seed or is the 4 seed. Tampa, if they can take care of business properly, is very much alive. Arizona took a bit of a hit with their playoff odds here. Very telling that all these different NFC West teams have less than 50% chance of making the postseason. It's going to be chaos here. Massive game against Seattle. That is, I think, one of the more under-the-radar big games because there's so much writing for both of these teams. But again, their schedule's easy. Patriots, Panthers. We'll see about the Chargers. They're probably going to be a tough game there. The Niners are probably going to be underdogs. What's going to happen, I see all these teams, like they're going to be favored. They can win 10 games. Teams are going to lose games. There will be upsets. It'll sort itself out. But it's going to be a bit of a fun finish here down the stretch in the NFC West and in that wild card race. Now, we will have these videos for you guys each and every single week, so do not miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv. The Rams also 6-6, but a much lower playoff probability because of their schedule. The Bills, a Niners team that we'll talk about here in a second. The Jets, Cardinals, and the Seattle Seahawks. So the Rams do control their own destiny, but it's not the easiest destiny to control. That's why it's down there at just 20%. Was a big win over the Saints, though, even if maybe the offense wasn't clicking the way that they'd hoped it was going to be. The Niners, this just might be a lost season in the end, which is unfortunate, given the way they're built. They got their butts kicked by the Bills in prime time. They should beat the Bears, although now the Bears get the interim head coach boost that we've seen result in wins before. Then you've also got still the Rams, the Dolphins, the Lions, the Cardinals. The Niners, from a practicality standpoint, they have to win out to make the postseason. And that just seems very unlikely with where they're currently at. I think you can put the Niners in this conference, plus some other teams too. Who is the most disappointing NFL team this year? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. You'll notice we didn't mention the Dallas Cowboys. They are at a 4% playoff probability. So our cutoff's going to be 5% down the stretch. Your Saints still have a 1% chance. Bears and Panthers at -1. That's all per NFL's next-gen stats. Dallas is still technically alive. We can talk about them more next week if they somehow upset the Bengals.